everyone, RogueGold here, welcome back to the Division 2. And today we've got some tasty new lore drops to discuss. It has been a minute, not only since discussing the latest lore that we're getting, but specifically Descent comms, right? They've kind of been a bit more low-key this season, nothing too crazy is being revealed in them, but that has been picking up in these last 2 weeks. They're starting to unveil some big new information, as well as confirming a fringe theory that myself and some others had like well over a year ago. How often does that happen? So I'm gonna let you know right now up front that this video will contain spoilers for the Crossroads season Descent comms in case you have not collected those and do not want to be spoiled. But yeah, let's discuss. As we do, if you enjoyed this video and you want to stay up to date on everything with the Division 2, including lore, guides, news, whatever, then be sure to subscribe. And then as always, diving in, huge shout out and thank you to our channel members. Your support keeps this channel running, so thank you so much for that. But without further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so I had mentioned that the Descent comms this season had not been, incredibly revelatory because there were several weeks of Theo and Jessica Candle talking, which said some interesting stuff, but again, nothing huge. Well, last week we finally got one with Keener, who of course is a bit more involved in everything going on behind the scenes. Now, like many of the comms that we get, this one contextualizes a lot about past events that we have witnessed, but didn't make, maybe 100% sense at the time. So, take a listen to this.
She said, and I quote, "I don't trust Aaron fucking Keener."
I'm not asking Cassandra to trust me.
She said your call sign should be the Sphinx.
Vanguard is fine.
She wants a nuclear protocol.
Two-factor authentication.
Exactly. She wants 2 users to activate and deploy the National Rogue Network.
And if they find a way to terminate the network?
2 users to reactivate.
With the biometric locks?
Yes. User ID and biometrics. Otherwise, you could just kill her and use her watch.
Fair enough. And if one of us dies, we should have a second.
Faye wants Candle.
She's not an agent.
She's not, but she trusts her.
She needs the watch. You need someone willing to wear the watch.
Viper was her second choice.
She can't choose Douglas. She's my second.
She named Kelso.
She hadn't even met her yet. She didn't want to give it to Hoskins?
No. Faye thought Hoskins had too much on her plate already, and was clearly in your corner. She's not wrong.
Alright, so this works to establish some of the planning that went into the entirety of the Keener, Faye, Viper plan that happened around the events of Warlords of New York, and specifically it clarifies why the events of the Vanguard season, or Year 5, Season 3, worked the way that they did. That was the one when Keener revealed himself to be alive. This talks about how two-factor authentication is needed between Keener and Faye in order to, access all of their secretive stuff, whatever it is. The thing is, though, heading into Vanguard, we had Keener's watch after the events of Liberty Island, and that meant that until he got it, he could not authenticate his half. And similarly, with Faye having died at Camp White Oak, the only person left who could authenticate her half was Kelso, who, as they named in this comm, was her only other double that could do it. Of course, Kelso did not know that she was named that person at the time, but Kelso did have Faye's watch. We saw her collect it at the opening cinematic of Season 9 when she visited White Oak, and once she had that, a few seasons later, she then got lured into the entire scavenger hunt upon returning to New York, and that was then when she was brought into the fold by Keener. Of course, that season then saw us following her once she went missing, and we brought Keener's watch right to him when we went to the stranded tanker, and that's when we saw us getting shocked. He then cloned his watch profile and walked off with what he needed. So again, there's not necessarily anything brand new here, but it is very nice just to have that background info. Now, this next comm is really what has gotten the community talking since it dropped yesterday. I'm gonna let it speak for itself. Here you go.
Please, slow down. No, Faye, we didn't attack City Hall. We targeted a Hunter outpost. No civilians were killed. Hunters were killed, alright? And Cal's loyalists. I know you said no Eclipse bullshit, but we had to get Nat's attention. The attack at Coney Island wasn't enough. For this to work, we need her to think that we're a threat worth her time. I promise, no more Eclipse on civilians. We agreed only to use it against the Hunters. We did not break our promise. We didn't. And see, it worked. Kelso and the crew from DC are on their way to help. That will follow. It's working. I promise. If it happens again, you're free to walk away and tell Nat everything. Scout's honor. We will only use the Eclipse against the Hunters. No more civilian casualties. I don't trust Keener, but you can trust me.
Alright, now, firstly, if you're wondering why Theo is kind of just talking to himself here, the conversation he's having is with Faye. Unfortunately, her voice actor just is not around anymore. I don't believe she has been since her death. Maybe they recorded some stuff for season 9. I don't remember. But in the grand scheme and in a business perspective, it's probably just not worth paying her actor to come back for one random comm that they're throwing in. Still, it's unfortunate that we didn't get to hear her here. But the subject matter of their discussion is what is important, because in this, they basically directly address part of Warlords of New York's biggest plot hole. That being, if Keener and Theo were, supposedly quote-unquote good the entire time, why did they then go and bomb City Hall with the Eclipse virus that was filled with civilians and JTF? And, even further, if Faye was then supposed to be on their team, on their side, how could she go along with that? Well, she didn't. As we see here, they went behind her back to do it, and she almost walked away because of them choosing to do this. So, from that perspective, I really liked this comm. I like that it stayed true to Faye's character. The other part here, though, comes down to the why they did it, and it all relates to the Hunters. Now, believe it or not, this was actually a theory that I had, I'm sure some others did as well, and I got it pretty spot on, which rarely happens. So for reference, this is a clip from a video I did back in April of last year. And so in the cutscene here, he says that he has a way that he can take on the Hunters, at least with Faye's help. And so given the fact that this is all taking place back during the events of Warlords, it makes me think, could the Eclipse virus have been specifically engineered to cripple the Hunters in a way that maybe we didn't see happen when he used it on City Hall, for example, in the JTF? Is that why, if you go all the way back to Division 1, that he wanted to capture Vitaly Chernenko was because he needed someone who could make some kind of virus that would expose a weakness on the Hunters? Maybe that goes along with the theory that they're genetically modified or enhanced in some way or another. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say, but that's where my mind went to. Alright, I'm sorry. I know I'm just patting myself on the back by showing that here. It just feels good to be right about something, okay? Now, the elephant in the room here is still that it's very unlikely that this was the plan or intention with these events back when Warlords was created and released. It seems as though this current whole storyline that we're playing through didn't really exist much back then. But even with them going in and adding this retroactively, it does still make a good bit of sense. By the time we got to Warlords, Keener had received the Hunter roster from Melanie Hoskins, who retrieved it from Silver Creek. That meant that he did and still currently has the list of every division agent who is secretly a Hunter. And so, he probably realized that a good amount of them were at City Hall, and to him, a few civilian casualties is nothing if the benefit is neutralizing a couple of undercover Hunters and simultaneously kicking off their entire plan by baiting Kelso and us to come up from DC. So again, it is not a perfectly sized piece to complete the puzzle. There were definitely some retcons that were made along the way, but I do kind of like how this is all played out. I like the concept of them weaponizing a virus, the Eclipse, to fight the Hunters. I think that's cool that that was the reason that Keener designed it to begin with. And thanks to this comm, I like that they honored Faye's character by having her be so deeply unsettled by them doing this in such a way that there were civilian casualties. So yeah, I think that this just puts a bow on all of that stuff quite nicely. Well, my friends, I believe that that is everything that I've got for this video. Really, I just wanted to come on here, break down some of these latest Descent comms, talk about the big reveals, brag a little bit about how I got a theory right. That said, at this point, I would love to know any and all of your guys' thoughts on this. What do you think about some of these latest Descent comms, whether it be the one with Keener and Theo or with Theo and Faye? How do you feel about them going in and saying that the whole reason for really the events of Warlords of New York was that Keener and Theo wanted to take out some Hunters at City Hall with the Eclipse virus? In your mind, does that line up with prior information that we've gotten? Do you think it works? Do you think it doesn't? Let me know. Would love to hear all of it down below. That's going to do it for me today, though. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Until then, RogueGold. Out.